Welcome everybody to the Palestine Museum US first virtual event live. Uh, Under such circumstances, we figured this would be the best way for us to actually help you enjoy some of the artwork that we have. My name is Yusuf Aboudi, and I'm one of the board members at the Palestine Museum US here in Connecticut. Today, we will be hearing from a number of Palestinian women artists who took part in our Telling Palestinian Story art exhibit that was opened on March 8th, celebrating International Women's Day. That exhibit contained over 200 works of arts from 50 plus Palestinian women from all around the world. So with this, let me just first introduce you to Faisal Saleh, the founder of the Palestine Museum. He's going to introduce the Palestine Museum US team for us. Faisal, would you unmute yourself? There we go.
Hello, Faisal Saleh, the founder and executive director of the Palestine Museum US. I'd like to welcome everyone on the Zoom session, as well as on the live streaming on Facebook in the US, Palestine, and the diaspora. I'd like to introduce the museum team, Yusuf Aboudi. He's also the moderator of the session, and Yusuf is a member of the board of directors, and he is one of the key managers of the museum with me. To my left, which will be your right, is Mirvat Sawadeh. Mirvat, would you like to wave to people? Mirvat is the director of communications, and diagonally to my lower left is Nancy Nesbitt. Nancy is the head curator at the museum. Thank you, and I will turn control back to Yusuf to continue. We apologize. There are a couple of the artists that are having technical difficulties getting back on the session, and we'll do our best to try to get them on. Thank you.
Thank you, Faisal. And with that, let me introduce you to a couple of artists we have here. Haya Kabne, she's from Jericho, right? And then we have Halima Aziz, who lives actually currently in Germany. So why don't we start with you, Haya, and let's just get a quick introduction to who you are, your name, the area you live in, what kind of education and you had in regards to artwork, and what prompts you to create such art, and then we'll go over to the artwork that we have at the museum as part of that exhibit.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Haya Kaadna. I'm a Palestinian artist and live currently in Palestine, in Jericho City. I have a BA degree in fine arts. My artwork basically inspired by stories I hear from Palestinian women, basically from my family, or women from my neighborhood, or women I meet randomly in work or in transportation. These stories are telling the suffering of the Palestinian women, not only from occupation, but from the community we live in, and the laws that doesn't give women rights here in Palestine. So these stories I used to hear actually were stored in my mind. I never took an action to paint them or to draw them until 2018. My aunt Jamila, her name was Jamila. She's a Palestinian. She was born in Palestine, and she got out of Palestine and lived in Jordan, and she was never allowed to visit Palestine again. She spent her whole life trying to get the permission to visit Palestine again. Occupation government didn't allow her. Even when her mother and sister died here in Palestine, she wasn't allowed to visit to visit her family here and grieve together. So finally, in 2018, she got the chance to visit Palestine. They finally gave her the permission, but unfortunately, she died. So she couldn't actually come to Palestine again. So what happened with my aunt actually motivated me to paint about her story. I actually have a painting. I made like a series about her. You can see this one, Jamila. Okay, and I draw her story, about 20 drawings. So I started to paint about other stories I used to hear, and in my paintings you can see sad eyes, but you can see also bright colors. You can see the women are so calm, they steady, they waiting for the change that hard to happen. And I choose watercolor because watercolor is one of the most difficult techniques in art. It's hard to edit. When you put the color, it's hard to change it. I use it to express about the status of women of Palestine. And that's it. I quit my job. I start to paint about these women, and finally, in 2019, I had the first exhibition, solo exhibition, in the World of Hotel in Bethlehem, and yeah, and finally, I just started to feel like I'm doing the art to express myself, but I'm not helping these women. So I started with my friend and my sister to start helping women actually in real life. So basically, women here have like 3 issues. They're not financially independent, and they're not educated, and they unemployed. So we started to like have women from neighborhood or family or the one we can easily reach, and started to teach them first how to read and write, and teach them how to do the financial stuff with the work. And finally we teach them how to create it's like we teach them how to do craft that they can sell and they can get money from. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Haya. Can you, I'm gonna just share with you a couple of those paintings that you have at the museum. So let me just go ahead and share these 2 things here. Let's see. So can you see this? Can everybody see the image?
Yeah, it's loading.
Okay. All right. So so you sent us two paintings, this one and this one. And can you tell me a little bit about this? I mean, one of the things that somebody asked me was the significance of the birds, and I've noticed also in looking at both of these things, you use quite a bit of bright colors in your painting, and this looks like this is a daytime picture with the taubes on, and this one here looks almost like they are in nightgowns and at nighttime. Is that right?
Excuse me, Yusuf, can you go back to the other display? When you enlarged it, when you enlarged it, the resolution was not compatible. So just go back to the original mode without the enlarged photo.
Okay. Let's take a look here. How is this?
No, still.
Just waiting to see what it looks like here. Let's share. Let me stop sharing first.
Stop sharing and redo.
And reshare again.
Yeah. By the way, we now have Run-Up Shara is on.
Yep. So.
Yeah, this is better.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Everybody? Okay. So we're learning as we go along, since this is the first time we ever do something like this. And so bear with us out there. I see Some people were asking about the image. They couldn't see it on Facebook. Let's see. I don't see the paintings. So let's see. Okay, there it is. So, all right. So we resolved the issue. Thank you, Faisal. So back to the question I had, Haya, on these two paintings here that you sent us for this particular exhibit.
Yeah, the birds. Okay, I don't know how to translate it in English.
احكيها بالعربي احنا بنترجمها.
اوكي، هو في بيت او مقولة كانوا يحكوها زمان بالعرب، اللي هي كأن على رؤوسهن طير، او على رؤوسهم، اللي هي دليل على السكون والهدوء، لأنه الطير مش رح يجي على راس حدا بتحرك. I use it as a symbol of calm women that and the hard way of change. They can change their life. رح أحكي لك بالعربي إنه صعوبة إنهم يغيروا حياتهم تتغير ببطء شديد، ما حدا مهتم بقضيتهم. فالهدوء والثبات هذا خلاني أستخدم الطيور عليهم، لأنه الطيور مش رح يقعدوا على حدا بتحرك أو حدا حياته.
خلينا نترجم شوي. هلا فيصل بدك تترجم لو سمحت؟
I'll translate it.
Okay.
What she's saying is that the women are so calm and still and kind of resolved to their situation that the birds land and sit on them, and the birds don't land on anything moving or unstable. So it really talks to the woman's feelings and plight and accepting their fate, so to speak.
صح. هيا في شيء ثاني بدك تعملي؟ اوكي. يلا كملي.
عن about the I don't remember what did you say?
What are the next
colors?
painting?
Okay, so the other question was one looks like it's in the daytime sitting on a couch like in the living room, and the other one almost looks like they're in nightgowns at night, and the birds, different colors of the birds. On one it's different bright color birds, and the other one is black birds.
I don't think that I have they're not related to each other actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the bright colors in all my paintings, they are the symbol of the life they wish they have.
Yusuf, these are not nightgowns. In the Palestinian villages, they have colorful dresses.
Yeah.
And these are the type of dresses. They're different than the thobes.
Okay.
In the villages around Nablus and some other areas, they wear these very bright dresses. And in fact, we just received a donation of 2 of those dresses. And if I have time, I'll share one of those photographs with you.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I just made the assumption because it was a darker background and the black birds, but okay. Thank you for the clarification. So anybody else from our panel that has any questions for Haya on her artwork and her presentation of that artwork? If you could unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Nancy, Mervat.
Yusuf, while you're thinking, let me show you a couple of those dresses I'm talking about. I don't know if people can see that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You see it? Can you put me on the bigger screen?
Let's stop sharing. There you go. Okay.
Okay. Here's one, and here's another one. You can see how they're all bright, and they can be mistaken for pajamas in the painting. But these are traditional dresses in the villages. These are like day-to-day type dresses that people wear around the house and in the fields. Don't know what happened here, but anyway.
So we have a question here from
Okay.
Nidal Al-Azraq on Facebook. He says, can you tell me about the clothes and what is the other one? How did you decide on the type of clothes?
Yeah, the question is for me.
Yes.
Yeah, the poses of the women, how they sitting.
Mm-hmm. And the clothes
Yeah.
that they're wearing, how did you decide on those?
Yeah, the way I told you before, they are sitting, they can't move, they can't change their reality. And the clothes, I didn't actually thought of specific pattern, but I choose flowers and bright colors because it's what we hope for the spring of life, the shining life we wish for. Yeah.
Yusuf, let me just add a note here. I'd like to give credit for the donor of those two colorful dresses that I shown, and that's Najwa Jardeli. She lives in California. I would like to thank Najwa for donating these two dresses, which came in very handy in our conversation today. Thank you.
I have a question for Haya. Haya, how do the Palestinian women react to your art? Do you feel that they really sense that this art speaks to them, represents them? Personally, looking at it, I just see both the sadness and the hope in your work. How do other women react to your art?
Yeah, in 2019, I participated in this exhibition in Qattan Foundation here in Ramallah, and you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it was my first time to show my paintings about women, and I saw the reaction of women and men. Actually, they were really. They felt the sadness in the photos, and they were compassion. They had compassion with the paintings. They react very well, and they touch something inside these women. Yeah.
And if I may have a follow-up question, you outlined the three challenges that facing Palestinian women currently. And in trying to address these, what kind of difficulties and challenges you're facing in resolving these issues, helping them being more independent, more educated about their rights? What kind of?
Yeah, it's hard. It's actually hard because we work like we're not the organization. We're not. No one is supporting us. We just work from ourselves. We just volunteer to do this, and we work now with women from our families and from our neighborhood, but we hope in future that we can help more women. I feel like it's hard for these women even to get educated, even from us, because the men in their life, they're controlling their movement, and they're controlling their decisions and everything in their life. So it's still hard unless we have laws in Palestine that protect women, because women get beaten and get killed that easily. No one is going to stop men from doing this. So unless we have a law that protects women, we can actually see the change we hope for. But in Palestine, exactly because of occupation, we can't change any law. Not only for women, any law in general. So it's happening, but it's slow movement. It's not that fast.
So just to clarify, so even laws affecting women are somehow controlled by the Israelis, or why can't you change? Why can't laws be changed?
Yeah, because we occupied, we can't change laws in Palestine. That's what I know. Because we have like a law, we've been asking or demanding to change about that related to honor killing in Palestine. When someone kills his sister or his daughter, no one changed it. They always say it's not allowed. I'm not sure, but I think it has something to do with occupation.
Yusuf, I think we need to move on to the next segment.
Yeah, well, Haya, thank you very much. This is very, very insightful.
Thank you.
Halima, would you like to introduce yourself for us?
So do you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So hi, my name is Halima and I'm 21 years old. At the moment, I'm working and painting a lot, and I'm gonna start to study this year in the university. I live in Germany and I was born here, but by the age of 3, we moved back to Palestine in order to live there forever. But after 7 years, my parents decided to move back to Germany because of the conflict and bad life conditions and bad circumstances. So it wasn't really possible for us to live there.
Where in Palestine were you living?
Yes, I wanted to, especially in Gaza, where we used to live most of the time. And yeah, my dad is from Gaza and my mom from Tul Karam. But most of the time we lived in Gaza. So that's why we moved back to Germany. But yeah, I guess in Tul Karam it's better to live there as in Gaza, because Gaza, the situation there is much harder to live. And yeah, shall I move on with how I started to paint?
Sure.
So I started to paint since I was a kid, but just like primary school drawings or paintings. But when we moved back to Germany, I completely stopped painting or drawing anything because like I focused on other things, and people also saw art as something unnecessary and useless. So this was also a reason for me why I stopped painting. But luckily, by the age of 18, I started to paint motivated again for an offer for my school. So I used this opportunity to paint a Palestinian woman to represent my background. And yeah, since then I started to paint more like on paper with acrylic paint, and moved on to paint on canvas. Mostly I painted about Palestine because I saw it will make an impact on people. Like I wanted to educate them and inform them about Palestine and the conflict. So yeah, I also posted it on Instagram, and yeah, but I also paint about nature and flowers, and yeah, inspired by artists like Palestinian artist Ismail Chammoud, or a Dutch artist Van Gogh, or also Frida Kahlo, the Spanish artist.
So in looking at what you have submitted for this exhibit at the museum, let me just pull up some of this stuff. You took famous paintings from known artists, let's see here, and made them your own. So talk a little bit about some of this work that you have submitted. This one in particular, this one I love, because it's got so many elements in it that are significant. Yes. You have the hands, you have the eyes up top, and of course the wall separating the couple from the Dome of the Rock.
Yes, it's just simply showing the occupation in Palestine through the wall, and behind the wall is Palestine, but there's shown like Dome of the Rock symbol as Palestine. And in front of the picture, you can see the Palestinian people, how they are suffering through all of this, the occupation. They have no rights, and yeah, they are suffering. And you can see through the expression of the old men and women, because I guess the old people, they lived all of the occupation mostly, and they experienced a lot of bad things. So they are living like in a prison, but still they have their homes in their hearts. That's why I painted homes. And
so what is the significance of the chain around the man's neck?
that it's like they are like in a prison. They can't really, they have no rights, or they can't even move from city to another city. Like they are under pressure and stuck under the occupation.
Okay. Let me move to a second one. This one is it's a famous Ismail Shammoud painting, but
Yes.
you painted it in your own way. And can you talk a little bit about that? Why did you decide to copy that?
Because I guess it was also important to me to paint the Palestinian women. It's emotional, sad, and shows also the Palestinian woman stuck under the occupation. Like you can see the expression on their faces, but also from the outside they are looking beautiful because they still hope. And yeah, I guess that they are freedom fighter for education, right, and beauty.
Okay. Next one here. This is a famous poster in 1936. It was actually Visit Palestine was used
Yes.
to attract Eastern European Jews to come visit Palestine and potentially live there. So, and you're repurposing it for to show the occupation. So talk a little bit about this one for me.
Yeah, so as you said, this is a famous poster. I repainted but changed a bit in my own version because like in the original one, it wasn't with the wall. It was just like Palestine showing, and it was made for from an Austrian Jew for Jews around Europe to go to Palestine and occupy it, like to live there. And I changed it and repainted it to show how Palestine at the moment looks like through the occupation, like with the wall. And yeah,
I really like the fact that you included the graffiti on the wall because I've seen other versions of it that did not have graffiti.
yeah, I know. It was also important to me, like to put all of the details on it, not just the wall.
Exactly.
But
yeah. I love that. And let's see. I think I have one more. And the girl with the pearl earring, Vermeer's famous painting, you Palestinize it, so to speak. So speak a little bit about this.
Yeah, actually, this is also a famous painting from a Dutch famous artist. The original painting is called "The Woman with the Pearl Earring."
It's
so
the girl
I
with the pearl earring, yeah.
Yeah, and I changed it as the Palestinian woman with the key earring. Yeah, I just put it on her throat to make her look like a Palestinian, and the key earring because because of the hope for Palestinians. Key, it's like they are going back to their homes, and peace, that they are fighting for freedom.
Okay, so we have a question about your time in Gaza. You said that you went there when you were younger, but when you started painting, how easy was it to get painting supplies or art supplies in Gaza?
Do you mean when I was 18 years old, when I started again? Or?
Yeah.
She was already back in Germany.
Oh, she already back in Germany. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was a bit hard because it wasn't easy for me at the beginning, but with time I practiced a lot, and with time I progressed fast.
Okay. Right. Does the panel have any other questions for Halima?
Well, I would like to ask Halima about her experience as a Palestinian artist in the diaspora in Germany. What kind of challenges are you facing as an artist?
Do you mean like negative or positive challenges?
Both.
Like
Just challenging.
Yeah. I'm just curious to know your experience. We heard from Haya, she lives in in Palestine, and your experience, you come at it from a different perspective. So I wanted to hear your perspective as an artist in the diaspora.
Yes, I know what you mean. There are actually no negative challenging, but more like positive, because through that I noticed that I am informing more people about Palestine and the conflict and everything, because I noticed that even some people here don't even know Palestine, and through that the impact was that I informed them and educated them more about Palestine and the conflict and how the people are feeling there. Yeah.
Yusuf, could you stop sharing so we can go back to the main view? Thank you.
So, any other questions? Let me just see what's on Facebook.
Yes, Yusuf, can you hear me?
Yes.
Does this sound all right then?
Is this Nancy?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you have? Why don't you disable your speakers on your computer?
She won't be able to hear.
It's echoing.
Not able to, there it goes. Yes? Okay. Number one, I'd like to make sure.
Hold on. You're echoing and you have two speakers on, so can you say something?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There's another screen here that says Nancy on it also.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe she's on twice in the session.
First, I want to make sure that everyone knows that we hope that you're all doing okay around the world. It was said the other day that artists are having a somewhat easier time lately because a lot of their practice is solitary. But I wonder how.
Okay. Hold on, Nancy.
Oops. I do wonder if there are changes in how your practice is affected, and if so, why?
Yusuf, try to get rid of this other user.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me just reiterate that question, Nancy. You seem to be echoing. So you're asking how the current situation is affecting the artist and how they're reacting to it? Yeah. Can you do, can you just message me on chat? Because I think you're having feedback.
I'll try, but you expressed it exactly right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So who wants to field this? We haven't had the chance to listen to Rana yet, but can either Haya or Halima and Rana, you could also pipe in to express some thoughts in regards to this current situation and how it reflects onto your current lives.
Rana, why don't you introduce yourself first, and then you can talk about that if you like.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Marhaba. Hope everybody is doing well at this difficult time.
Her Wi-Fi is not fast enough. So.
I'm at the moment in Tarshiha.
So, Rana, why don't you?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Why don't we do this? Why don't you cut off your video from there and see if that helps, because sometimes that bandwidth is.
I'm not sure why it's not working.
It's working now. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm at the moment in Tarshiha, Upper Galilee, in northern Palestine.
Okay.
I hope everybody is doing well with the situation, with the corona crisis. We all gonna get through it, I'm sure. Well, I'm a visual artist from like a very young age. I started my career as an artist, and I'm still ongoing with this profession. well, well, I'm doing so much, like not only with painting, I'm doing as well installation art, performance. I'm also an activist, social and women activism, and I'm doing as well, like performance, street performance in regard of women and right, protecting the right of women in Palestine, especially since we talked about women and the challenges of women in Palestine. So what else do you like to know? I will be happy to answer. At this moment, I have 3 pieces at the museum. 3 of them are an abstraction of Cactus, Sabbar.
Let me just put that on for you. Hold on a second.
Sure.
I think I have 2 of them on my laptop here. Oh, stop sharing.
There they are.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the screen instead of I always. So let's take a look.
Is there
here.
any echo or
No.
yours?
No, you sound fine.
Okay, good.
So here's one. It's called Lifta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So talk a little bit about this.
Well, Lifta is one of the most amazing villages that they have been demolished and depopulated, but still not totally demolished. One of the few villages that they weren't demolished during 1948 because of its beauty. Since they appreciate beauty, of course, between brackets, they left Lifta and they left Ain Hod and few other Safad as well for their luxury. For the occupiers' luxury now. Well, this is as a visual. I go often to Lifta, and the last time I went there, it was with a woman from the families who were forced to leave Lifta, and she was looking for her house. And after a long day, she was marching with me in such pain and such sorrow. But as soon as we actually stepped into Lifta's land, she was she turned into a child. She felt like she's a child flying over Lifta, and she was picking every possible plant you can even imagine, and she was eating and collecting to take home. One of the things that I found on the side is a cactus leaf was carved with لن نتخلى. It was just lying on the side of one of the houses, and I felt so happy and so charged with more energy, even because anyway the cactus and my story with cactus is of course very have a long history. So I found this as a message for me and for this lady. And that day we were marching down, and another family was marching on the other side. And the lady with me, she said, you know what, they are Liftawis. And then as soon as we finished talking, they met and they start hugging and kissing and crying, because she was telling me all about this house on the top of the hill. She said, I was a child, bringing water to this house to water the flowers. And sure enough, that lady was the same lady that she was. As a child, she was coming and bringing her the water. what a coincidence. I was so happy to see, to listen and to see that in, live in front of me. And that's a witness, like an eyewitness. And I was an eyewitness to such amazing story. So that's why, but of course, the time has passed 72 years and nothing has happened so far. But the flower there on the left corner is the hope, and the hope that she was holding the الحنون, زهرة الحنون الحمراء. She was holding this beautiful, I don't know how we call it in English, but poppy seed.
Yeah, poppy flowers. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the hope that's rising. I have many photos of that event actually, and I have the video as well. So this is a commemoration to the lady and all the Liftawis that they are gonna, we all gonna come back to all our villages and towns. Inshallah.
And I'm assuming that you use the henna to color that flower.
Yeah, it's henna mixed. I mean, I always use henna because as a gesture of feminism, kind of, because henna usually they use it to make henna for the wedding day, but I use it every day to kind of give it the touch, the aroma, the beauty of henna and the touch of women that has a lot of effect on me as a Palestinian lady, and my mom and my grandmothers and all that. So I mix my colors to give them the warmth of the henna from our history.
Thank you. How about, and this is another painting we have at the museum. Sorry for the reflection of light on that.
Yeah. Well, for me, Cactus is the omnipresence of Palestinian villages and towns in all over Palestine, which there are 531 villages and towns. So for me, the landscape is crowned with cactus everywhere, and they are the witnesses, and they are the omnipresence. And since I see cactus all over, and nowadays we see somehow some a disease over the cactus, taking over some of the cactus in some areas. So I am actually worried about that it's going to be the last witness or the last evidence that there were villages there. So I'm actually making sure that I will keep drawing the cactus whenever I can, even in my sketches, even in my paintings, and everywhere. I plant it all around my house and I protect it as my duty. So these are like landscapes or like abstraction with cactus, and I love the colors, and I love,
Wonderful. I remember my grandmother picking and peeling the cactus pears for us all the time growing up in Arik. Yeah.
Yusuf, I have a comment from one of the followers on Facebook, John Linder. I'd like to read it quickly. He says, Lifta is now a nature preserve, but all the skeletons of the stone houses remain from 1948. I try to visit Lifta each year. It is a powerful witness to the Nakba. I was deeply moved by your painting. That was John Linder.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you. Honestly, Lifta broke my heart because many friends, because I lived in Jerusalem for over 6-7 years, and I'm still in the area there in Bejala and Bethlehem and Jerusalem, Al-Quds. Because every time I visit there, I see how they are treating this village, those houses standing still for history, for commemorating our history. Or our Nakba. I mean, every time I see that every stone is still standing, but what they did for the houses, they tried to open to kind of destroy the houses by not destroying them, by to open openings from the top that water can sink in and deteriorate the houses. And that's so sad. I mean, because the UNICEF also, not the UNICEF, the UN, or like the
UNESCO.
sorry, the UNESCO actually should protect these houses because they were planning to do it as a luxurious villa houses for the Jews to come back to, not to come back, to live in them, like Yafa and Haifa on the shore. But, like this is really very sad and rather criminal to do such actions, and not let anybody come back to their houses. Because all Liftawis are living in Jerusalem and they see it every day and they cannot come back to it. That's the tragedy, like all other villages.
So we have a question on Facebook. I think you've already answered this, but just to let you know, it says, why cactus and how did Palestinians use them in the past and now, and for what?
Well, cactus used to be the fence between villages and towns, and even between fields to protect the fields or to divide the landscapes from each neighbors or each family. To protect them from wild animals, and that was really a very natural, beautiful, and very from our nature. And yet, like when when the occupation happened, and I was also many times was challenged by when I was studying at Haifa University. They said, well, we call the one who was born here as Sabra. I said, well, you are stealing even our symbols, which is very ironic because you stole the land and you want to steal also our symbols, which is a big false accusation, because the cactus was here and they came and they occupied the land and they took it as well. So for me, it's even more challenging for me to resist all these accusations. And the cactus also, we eat the fruit because it's spiky from outside and very sweet from the inside, and I'm specialized with that. So I'm in love with cactus, and I do a lot of work with live cactus, with green cactus, and as well my last piece, what I did, since we are talking about that, I dried the cactus fibers and I use it as a medium. Mm-hmm. Because when I started studying art and I was still a student at 18 years old, I was marching through the hills of Palestine, and in Haifa and Al-Halisa, I was teaching young students there, and I will pick the fibers and I come and stitch them at home to make my art, because I was, of course, a student. I wanted to find my medium. So, and at my last piece that I exhibited at the Palestine Museum in Bir Zayt, I named my piece, it was like a long process of art piece installation. I named it Huba Roadmap for Elimination, where you have screens of cactus fibers stitched with I can actually show you some photos, stitched with black thread, and they are moving around in a carousel, and maps of what happened on the ground, of what have been stolen from our historic map.
So are you going to share a screen, or are you just showing it with the camera?
Maybe I have one piece here on my laptop.
Okay, because I disabled your video because the bandwidth issues. So if you do it, you could share your screen. That'll show.
Maybe I can send it by email to you now.
No, you could just share your screen. You know how to share?
Yeah, maybe.
Go down to share there and share your screen.
On the same device, you mean?
Yes, if you can. If not.
Anyway, I will email it to you now.
All right, I'll open my email.
Anyway, if any questions, I also will be happy to answer.
So anybody?
I answer the question?
Yep. Thank you very much. That was very insightful. Mervat, Nancy, do you have any questions? No? Halima?
Yusuf, I'd like to ask our followers on Facebook who are currently watching to give us a little bit of feedback about the program, the format, and any suggestions. We will be doing this every Sunday at noon, and we'll have a different selection of artists, of course, every time for the foreseeable future, as long as the museum is closed due to the current health crisis. So we're happy to entertain suggestions. And if you have any questions, please write them up now on Facebook, and we'll try to answer them before we close in a few minutes.
Yep.
By the way, if I can add something
Sure.
from my from Galilee, I can hear helicopters in the air here, and which is very strange, because we are actually under tonight, starting from tonight, we're gonna have a lockdown and even a curfew. But what I wanted to add, as Palestinian of 48, we basically are under so much pressure, because as a Palestinian community, or like the native people in 48, we have so much layers, so many layers of discrimination because of the coronavirus. We don't have enough checks for the coronavirus. Although we have huge number of Palestinian doctors working in the Israeli hospitals. As well, we have many students are abroad. The Israeli authority brought their tourists back, and our students are still waiting to come back, especially from Jordan and from other countries. They brought them back, and they put them, they load them on trucks, on buses, and they put them all together in a unhealthy hotel and somewhere in the Tiberias. Basically, we are abandoned, as well as the prisoners here in 48 and in 67. Of course, I'm not differentiating between us, but that's really a catastrophe for us to see that they have released many Israeli prisoners, of course not political prisoners, and they are still not even thinking about releasing our prisoners in Israeli prisons, so especially children and women, and so I can hear the helicopter here is in the air, so it's very scary, kind of. They always, because we are on the Lebanese border, God knows what's happening there.
So,
Rana, to what extent, may I have, did you want to ask a question, Yusuf?
Sure. No, go ahead, Mervat.
Yeah. So to what extent, Rana, are you in contact with other Palestinian artists in the 67 and in the diaspora? Do you have ways of communicating and on regular basis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Just to let you know, since 2005, I came back from the States, and I moved directly to Jerusalem, Al-Quds, and then a few years later, I lived in Beit Jala for over 10 years now. So I'm pretty much involved in the art scene, and I'm in touch with many friends in the West Bank and in Gaza as well. In Gaza, of course, virtually, but in the West Bank, I lived in Beit Jala, and I go often to Ramallah, and I'm involved in the art scene there, as well in 48. I don't like to differentiate between us, so I feel like Palestine, whole Palestine is us. Yeah. Mervat, where are you located now?
I'm in the US, in Washington, D.C. area.
Okay, great.
And if I may also bring up the women issue again, to what extent you feel there are similarities between women's struggles, or struggle among Palestinian women in different parts of Palestine, you know, I'm like you, I hate to make the distinction between 48 and 67, but you know, obviously you have different laws, but there are there any similarities that you see?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. Thank you for asking this question. Just recently, I do a lot of performances about women issues, and I wear some kind of you know, kufiya that I woven and with the names of the women who were killed in 48 and 67. And the laws in the West Bank are really very very unfair and rather like they are occurred, because you know the family how do you call it, the
Family status law.
Status law is actually not allowing any marriage for under the age of 18, but they have restrictions in the West Bank. What those are restrictions? Nobody knows. And I'm actually one of the members of تجمع المقدسي النسوي المقدسي, and we are working on basically trying to issue this law to pressure the PA to issue this law and to reinforce it, because we have really a big problem by the so-called honor killing and the problem of the there are many issues about such issue, but in 48 the laws are a bit better, let's say, but the political situation here is making it difficult to implement it, because all the killings that happened under the so-called
I think Rana?
We're losing Rana. In the meantime, Yusuf, we have a comment from one of our followers on Facebook. Allison Hadley is saying we would love to see a general tour of the museum as well, and we will try to do a bit of a tour next time, next Sunday perhaps. In the meantime, there is an informal e-tour of the museum on the museum's website, palestinemuseum.us. If you select the viewing room from the main menu, you have a choice of a few videos. You can look at. One of them is a tour of the museum.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this time we do have one. It's not formal, like Faisal said, but as soon as right now, every state we have around us has gone into shelter in place, which means that we have limited movement around. And once that lifts, we'll do a much more formal, deliberate tour of the museum. So it could, even if you can't visit, you could see it around the world.
Yeah, but there's enough to look at in the meantime, though. I would suggest you look at, there's like 2 or 3 videos that show the current exhibit at the museum.
So we have a couple of good suggestions for next meetings. We'll take those into consideration. Amal Gilbert has a question for Haya. I think we've already covered this discussion earlier, Amal, but I'll let Haya cover it again. It says, you had a piece with colorful birds and one with black birds. Can you explain the distinction?
Yeah, okay. The one with the colored birds, I made it actually in 2018, and the other one in 2019. I don't think they related to each other, but colors usually in my paintings are a symbol for hope.
Could you have a
I think our time is up here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at any other questions on Facebook to see the other ones we could answer afterwards. But if anybody should have any questions for the artist on Facebook, just leave the questions. We'll feed them back to the artist and have them respond to you as soon as.
Yeah, Yusuf, I'd like to recognize a couple of the suggestions from Facebook, from Cape Har. Could you have a panel of artists with one moderator and the discussion between the artists mainly. We'll definitely consider that. From Daniel Shoemaker, would like to see a slightly more conversational format in which artists converse with each other about issues in their work.